Welcome to the final down. We finally managed to stuff Jim back into his big dark hole. So you've actually got the dream team for
I've
a
just
week.
got Jim's
That's the
big
Chaps,
dream
how are
dark.
team.
we?
I've just got Jim's big dark hole in my head now. That's what you've put in there. That's
That's not what I
terrible.
want to think of.
Yeah, there's
Let's
no
go
Jim
back
this
to the
week.
dream team comment.
Yeah, absolutely. What a week.
It's been a
What a
week.
week. It has
It's
been a
definitely
week.
been a week.
There's a bit more of a smile on your face this week, Punk.
Well,
Has that got anything to do with some
I'm.
certain news?
I don't know. Could
The
it?
Ravens won, didn't
Maybe,
they?
possibly. I mean, it's. Let's be honest. It's 3 weeks too late, but it's a start. It shows that people are listening, which is good.
Are we
It
are we
shows that
talking
I
about a
have
certain
influence
person getting
outside of this
fired?
sphere because I have equal influence within this sphere. So, at least the rest of the world's listening to me, even if you three aren't.
Sorry, what was that?
Twist.
So yeah, Luke Getz has been fired from the Raiders. He's just been appointed head coach of the Saints. That's not true, but it might be by the time the end of this podcast happens because the Saints are just
Well,
that daft. So who knows? On the Saints, Dennis Allen's been fired. Shock horror.
For the
who
first
saw that
time
coming?
ever in the history of the NFL,
Mm,
one quarterback has been responsible for a head
yeah.
coach getting fired from two teams.
I mean, you say one quarterback. Dennis Allen did a pretty good job himself, in fairness.
Yeah, but Derek
He
Carr
didn't
was
really need the push, did he?
quarterback at the Raiders when Dennis Allen got fired from the Raiders as well. So, some people would say cause and effect,
Yeah.
but
Well, there was a lot of speculation on Twitter that he's going to end up finding his way to the Broncos because of the obvious links between the Saints and the Broncos. So, yeah, watch
All of
this
that to look
space.
forward to then,
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait.
just to really push the organisation forward, eh?
We're recording this on what is it? Tuesday night, and it's
Tuesday night.
deadline
I
day.
Forks night.
So there is the possibility we might get breaking news during to see who T. Higgins goes to. Please God, not let it be the Broncos. It's Clemson scam, innit? We don't want him there.
Oh,
Absolutely not.
of
I
course
was
not.
trying to work out the reason
Clemson,
as to
mate.
why
So
you wouldn't want him.
Just
clutch at
Clemson.
anything.
Like, hang on a minute, what's T. Higgins got?
He's too much like Cortland Sutton as well. We don't need another player like that. We need a bit of a
Yeah,
speedster.
you don't need
Um,
good receivers. You just need average
Yeah,
ones.
why
we got
try
enough of
and
those.
why and try and get a good team?
Cortland Sutton's better than T. Higgins. Right, what trades have happened so far? So from
Uh,
memory, I haven't got a list in front of me. So
Jets have got rid of Mike
Mike
Williams to
Williams,
Steelers
and
for
that's a good trade. I
2025
think it's a
fifth.
bit
Great,
expensive for a
great.
fifth.
Yeah, but it's let's be honest, it's a great bit of business by the
If
Jets
if he's
to get rid of an injury prone, dodgy receiver that's obviously not getting on with his quarterback, to to get a fifth back for him as well. I think that's superb bit of business from the Jets. I
if he
think,
stays fit, it's good business for Steelers as much as I don't want to say it.
yeah, but
If
he's
he
not going to
stays
stay
fit.
fit.
Yeah, but he
He's not
won't
going
stay
No.
to.
fit.
It's as simple as that. It's probably great in that it'll keep the Steelers medical staff, in business for another year.
The
So,
the worst thing that could happen though is he comes in, is brilliant this season. He plays in the inevitable wild card loss that the Steelers are going to have, and they give him a whopping great big contract. He's out of contract in the summer. They give him a whopping great big contract, and he gets injured, tears his ACL in practice next year. So that's probably the worst thing that can happen. But hey, it's worth a punt. We know the Steelers have been after wide receiver for most of the season. So yeah, well done for them.
probably do the quarterback as well, the Steelers, to be honest.
Oh my God!
What else has been happening? So we've got Marshawn Lattimore. There's an
Yeah,
interesting one.
so
For the last
gutted.
Yeah, tell us
week
about
or
that one,
so,
Dave.
well, for the last week or so, it's been muted that he's been going to the Chiefs, and I've been sitting there going, "Oh God, no, they're getting even better."
Mm,
And then all of a sudden today it pops up and he's gone to the Commanders.
yeah.
Sounds fantastic to me. It's
Well,
great.
Sounds
apparently Broncos offered apparently
very good.
third and a sixth, um, because they wanted to pair him with PS2. What a pairing that would have been, by the way. But no, I opted to go to Washington, which yeah, I think is a good move for him. Washington's secondary is a bit fluffy, a bit woolly, so he'll come in, be an immediate upgrade. The problem is in the past couple of seasons, he hasn't looked as good as he has previously. So you want him to get back to where he is. But how many times have we seen players move and all of a sudden become great? The
Thing is, as well,
28-year-old cornerbacks are a bit.
going to Washington at the moment, there's still an element of there's no real expectations. It's just
Oh, I think there
let's
are.
have. No, but I think they're in a they're in a rebuild, aren't they? They're not expecting to go out and
Oh,
challenge. And
I think the
don't get me wrong,
Texans have changed everything.
No, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think
Oh, I
so.
think they are.
I'm sitting with Finn on this one. I think Washington this year, if they get to the playoffs, which you know every reason to think that they will, they again like the Texans will be ahead of where they should have been on the
Just
rebuild. I think
Mm.
bringing Latimore into such a young team is a great move because
Oh, I think it's
he's
a
got
great move,
experience.
but
He's
I think
got
the expectations are definitely there. I mean, just because more two of you think one thing and I don't, and there's more of you, it doesn't mean that it's right.
nothing
I
to do
mean,
with more of us, mate. It's to do
Brexit's
with us
proven
being
that.
right. We're right.
We got
It's
politics
as
into it
simple as
now.
that.
Exactly.
It's going
It's
really well.
apt. You're right. I'm gonna write it on the side of a bus, and then everyone will believe me. There we
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
But no, I think it's a good move. We can argue about expectations, but it is a great move. The other
Absolutely.
one's Zadarius Smith going to the Lions, which is good because it replaces Aiden Hutchinson. Imagine next season when they've got Smith in rotation and Hutchinson's back. Good God.
Bit
Gonna be
scary, isn't
mad,
it?
isn't it?
Mm, if they extend him, of course.
Now there is
Uh,
a team with expectations.
yeah, you say that, but they're the Lions. No, I agree. I do agree.
We're
What
going to
else
go
we
back to
got?
a
Oh,
numbers game.
oh, Jonathan Mingo has gone from the Panthers to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Exciting one. Khalil Herbert,
He's
Bears
gone
to the
from
Bengals.
Chicago to the Bengals. Yep.
Yeah.
Which
Uh,
when
yeah.
as soon as I saw that, I assumed then that there was going to be someone else going to Chicago because their run game is diabolical at the moment. So I'm expecting another running back. It wouldn't surprise me if Javonte Williams ends up going, to be honest, because I don't think we're going to be signing him anytime soon. Talking about the Broncos, sorry to interrupt. Baron Browning's gone to the Cardinals. Um, we re-signed Jonathan Cooper on I think 60 million 5-year deal or something like that. What was funny is so the Broncos sent Baron Browning to Arizona, I think got a fifth back or something like that. And Baron Browning's great, but he's just been injured constantly. He's played 24 games in 4 years. We got a sixth apparently. So we got a sixth back, and a lot of people saying, well, that's nothing. What are you going to get for a sixth? Well, the guy who we've just signed instead of Baron Browning was a seventh round pick. So there is the possibility of getting starters that late. So I don't think it's too bad when his contract's out in the summer anyway. But yeah, sad to see him go. But he's a big talent, but it's just not really happened. What else
Carrying
have we
on
got?
then.
Yeah,
Vikings have acquired Cam Robinson. That
he's
was
still in the league.
that's about a week ago,
All
actually.
right.
That one. I think we're now getting into the ones we already know about. So Deontay Johnson going into the
Mm.
Ravens, Josh Uche going to Kansas from the Patriots, Ernest
Ooh.
Jones into the Seahawks from the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, so I think that's us up to the minute so far.
Probably a few more by the time we finish recording, but
Donald Trump to the White House, maybe that could.
No, I told you
oh,
I've done the maths.
not according to Dave's maths, no.
No, telling you.
I'm not getting into that.
Anyway, you know what it's time for? Felony Watch.
Felony Watch.
Oh, here we are.
Oh, love a bit of felony watch.
This is what
So,
we're really here
Who's
for.
been a bad boy?
so I'm changing the rules a bit. Normally, it's players who are current. This guy's retired quite a while ago, and I'm not familiar with his work. Punk, you're old, so you might remember him. Gosder Shurilius. He's an offensive lineman, played for a whole host of team. So Gosder Shurilius.
I'm
Ring a
sure you're
bell?
probably saying that wrong. I'm
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 so.
thinking Curulus, but
Oh,
how do you spell it? I'm thinking it's CH at the beginning.
yeah, Cherilus.
Yeah, Churlius,
Whatever,
not
him.
Shirlius.
Shirley. Hey, dude, I took a shot. What's wrong with
Anyway,
me?
yes, carry on.
This is what
Why
I'm
is
not
it,
in education does for you.
why has he been a bad boy?
This
What's
is
he done?
brilliant. This is
Go on.
brilliant. So he sat on a plane and there was a 4 hour delay. Okay, don't Google it. Let me tell you because I want to see your reactions. Don't Google it.
Go on
I'm
then.
not
He
going.
was, there was a 4 hour delay at the airport,
Mhm.
and apparently he popped a sleeping pill to help him. It was a flight from Boston to Ireland. It was a 4 hour delay, and the sleeping pill started kicking in, and making him go a bit, bit funny.
Yeah.
So he started complaining about his seat. He got up out of his seat, walked to the row in front of him, pulled out his man, pulled out his
Oh,
his piece
Right?
and
Little
took a
churler.
full 20-second piss on a 79-year-old woman. I'm not even joking. It was described as stop laughing. It's not funny. This poor old woman has a 6'6", 300-pound dude standing there with his huge, fat, whopping great member just pissing all over her. I'm not even joking. Dude then comes
Wow.
up to him.
I think
A,
I want some of those sleeping
a
pills.
dude then comes up to him and starts having a go. So he then smashes this guy in the face, sits back down in his seat, fast asleep. So they had to turn the flight around, land back in Boston. One of the women on the plane had to run to the thingy to get this woman some new clothes because obviously she was drenched in 3 gallons of piss. And he was arrested, and the court document he's gone to court, and this is all according to the court documents. But yeah, 20 seconds of streaming piss
I've
all
got to
over this
say,
poor
this
woman.
is the best felony watch.
It is amazing, isn't it?
This is
Absolutely
so good.
amazing. So yeah, Jim, do not cut that. But yes, he's been arrested. I really feel sorry for the woman. I really, really do. Because what can you do? You can't. You just have to take it.
Well, yeah, especially let's be honest, at 79, you're not really going to be able to jump up on the seat and jump over backwards or anything. Yeah,
No,
And 20
it's
seconds is a long time
20
as well.
seconds
that's
is 20 seconds is your first thing in the morning, making sure everything's emptied out.
Yeah,
oh,
That's time. That's time. But yeah.
there you go. That was a lovely felony watch.
there we are.
We'll keep an eye on him to see if he's.
What a
I'd
brilliant
assume he's not
felony
going to go
watch.
to prison. But
Could
yeah,
you
there you go.
imagine? He's walking around. Then what are you in for? Well,
Yeah, but I mean,
let me
it's a
tell you a
former
story.
offensive lineman. Even if he does tell you, you're not going to mess with him, are you?
Well, no, there is that. He
Yeah.
I
probably
mean,
will
I
still
guess
run the place.
Right, let's move on to the
Let's
review.
let's crack on to what happened in week 9, then, shall we? Um, Start off with the Thursday night game of the Houston Texans at the New York Jets. And much to everyone's pleasure, we're not going to do all the mini game reviews that Jim does. We're just going to flow and have a little conversation. So all I'll do is I'll give you the final score. So final score, Houston Texans 13, New York Jets 21.
I was devastated. I doubled down on this game, Punk. You called it.
I called it.
I don't know
I
why.
said last week. What?
Even though I know the score, it still seems stupid to pick the Jets.
It it kind of does, but you've got to factor it's the outside factors. So it's short week. Texans going west to east. I know they're playing late at night, but it's still traveling, etc., etc. Thursday night. And look, let's be honest, the Jets had to get one right at some point. I mean, they were
Mm,
still this was a horrible first half. There's
It's a
neither
horrible
team
game.
could get anything going. It was an absolutely dreadful first half. And then the Jets suddenly, kind of hit a few passes and it just the Texans never really kind of got the grips with how to move the ball on the Jets defense. It wasn't a great game by any means. But yeah, I mean, I had the feeling that the Jets would do enough to win it. It was proven right. Um, but you'd still look at this in about 5 weeks' time and go, hang on, how did the Texans lose to the Jets?
mm,
But having said that, the Texans have been really up and down this year. They've at no point have they looked like the free-flowing offense that they had last year. And now some of that will be down to the injuries they've had, and obviously, just in the last couple of weeks they've lost Stephon Diggs as well, which won't have helped. But you know, I can't quite put my finger on why, but that Texans offense is just it's not firing at all at the minute.
I think one
Let
of
me
the
give a
problems
shout out to Malachi Corley for doing everything he can to get dropped soon. I don't understand why you drop the ball before you go in the end
that's
zone.
was
It's
quite.
such a bonehead thing to do.
Well, especially
Do you reckon
when
he's purposely dropped it, hasn't he? He's
No, he's
no,
just an
well,
no, no.
idiot.
But just look at the media frenzy there was over the Kyle Pitts one the week before. Surely, at some point, you've heard all that stuff and go, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm
But
just
just keep it tight all the way
you're
through.
a rookie. Just make sure you're three quarters of the way through the end zone before you drop the ball.
dude, just
It's
run out the back
not
of the end zone.
complicated.
Just
Yeah,
almost
Just
straight
don't
straight
drop it
out the
full
back.
stop.
Yeah, no.
whatever.
Never let it
It's
go.
But
such a
the Kyle Pitts one
bonehead
was
thing to do.
the Kyle Pitts one, if I remember rightly, he was somewhat tackled as he was going into the end zone. So it
Oh,
wasn't a
really?
full-on drop, was
No,
it?
it was a full-on drop. He got tackled after he was in the end zone, but actually going in, he just
It
dropped the
was.
ball thinking he was in. Now there was no conclusive camera angle to see whether he was or wasn't, but I would say from the angles that I saw, he was a good foot and a half short
Mm.
when he dropped the ball.
And that
But
was Corley's only
it's
carry of
what
the
it is.
game as well.
But
I
if
mean, to
you're
be
if
fair, if it
you're
does that, you're not giving him the ball afterwards, are you?
no, exactly. And if you're a rookie, why do it? Why risk it? It's yeah, it's nuts. And
Because
yeah, I
it
mean
can only be because you're overexcited and
he must be
messed
very,
your blood
very
flow.
He probably
happy
got carried away. Saw his
that
name in
Garrett Wilson
lights.
has dug him out
Mm.
a hole.
Well,
Yeah,
he
let's
dug
be
the whole of it.
honest.
He dug the whole Jets out, didn't he? Really, because nothing was really happening. And then he comes up with those big catches. I mean, both of them. To be fair to him, were phenomenal. Um,
Let's be honest though, our first time we all went a bit early, didn't we? It's not the only time it's
well,
happened. Breaking trade news, by the way, and it involves the Steelers,
oh,
because the one thing that they need is more help on the defensive line. They've traded a 7th-round pick for Preston Smith. Gutted, because Preston Smith's actually really quite good. So he's coming from Green Bay to the Steelers, 7th-rounder. That's a better trade than the Williams trade.
Yeah, I agree. I'm
mm,
a bit surprised that Green Bay let that happen, to be honest.
The only thing I can think, because he's actually really very good. The only thing I can think is it's got to either be a salary thing or you're a pain in the arse in the changing room kind of a thing. It has to be one of those two. But
Maybe
then the Steelers
well,
don't get
potentially.
the Steelers don't trade for kids, do they? They tend to do their
they
homework and get
they
nice
tend
people
not
apart
to.
from
No,
Russell Wilson.
that's quite a strange one, just from
Mm.
I would say a Green Bay point of view. But, interesting. Well,
Um,
keep us updated.
Last thing on the Jets front, Aaron Rodgers had his best game of the last 2 years. I was going to say last 2 years, basically 1 year because last year didn't count. But it's easily his best game so far.
Yes, I'd agree with
And he
that.
was still only ordinary, by the way, but
He
best
was
game
still
so
very
Oh
far.
yeah, he's
ordinary,
still
especially
not.
in that first half. But he
Still nothing
definitely
special,
picked
is
up
it?
a
But
bit. No, no, he's I think it's safe to say that the hype was just that, and he's not going to recapture even his form from 3 or 4 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. So
well,
yeah,
exactly. And they can build the team around him as much as they like. He's not gonna
it's
give
not
him
going
all
to
the
happen.
weapons. He's not gonna all of a sudden find his prime time abilities again. So
Um, Also, more breaking news. Apparently, the trade for Marshawn Lattimore isn't finalized yet because it's pending a medical, and apparently there are issues. So by the
oh,
time this is released, people will know a lot more. But Marshawn Lattimore currently has a hamstring injury, I think.
Yeah, he got that two or
Um,
3 weeks ago in the
so it
game
might, it
against the
might,
Broncos.
it was, yeah. It might just not be able to, because he was chasing all of our speedy wingers. That's what it was.
Yeah,
No,
let's.
I think
that's
they
what it
might just
was.
not be able to do a full physical on him at the moment. But it's
If
not going
it,
through, but I'm sure it will.
I'm sure it will. If the only problem they find is that he's got a strained hamstring that everyone knew about anyway, and
Mm.
so he's going to be out for a couple more weeks, that's not going to stop the trade.
This is
Mm.
how bad that Jets Texans game was. We're talking about Marshawn Lattimore's hamstring. That's how bad this game was. Right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's
Keep
keep
it
it
going.
moving and go on then.
Undisciplined
Let's
without Jim.
go to the Jacksonville Jags. So score was Jacksonville Jaguars 23, Philadelphia Eagles 28.
Go on, Finn,
Jags
you
were
start.
absolutely dreadful for about 45 minutes of this game.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
were
45 minutes.
so bad.
You mean
It
8
was
weeks?
well, yeah. They carried
Are we
on
doing the
their rate.
mid-season review?
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't believe how they for me are the team who are underachieving in the entire NFL this season. They're better than they're
Mm.
showing, but they're just so bad. I can't
You're
think of
probably
another
not wrong,
team.
actually.
I can't think of another team who should be or who should be a lot better. The only other candidate I can think of are the Chargers, but they've started to get going a bit now.
They found a little
Yeah,
bit,
they
Um,
yeah.
they they've done what we expected them to do. Start slowly, learn the new system,
yeah.
and then start getting better
Mm.
and better. I think you might be right with Jacksonville. They've just never improved, have they?
Mm.
Nope.
They've never looked like they're competent enough to win games. They've never looked like the offense is capable of putting up points. The defense just seems to blow really hot and cold. The defense, it's like you're. So, for example, I've seen Cisco have kind of two or three really good games this season, but then the rest of the defense will do nothing. Or, Josh Allen that isn't Josh Allen anymore.
Heinz
Will
Allen.
there you go.
Yeah,
Will again have a good game, and everyone around him just kind of flops down. So it's kind of strange, especially when you look at the personnel that Jacksonville have got. There's no reason I can see as to why they're so bad.
they're
And
shite.
even yeah, but even Trevor Lawrence has regressed again. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought he'd
Clemson,
taken a
innit?
bit of a step back last year, but this year I'd be lucky. I think on genuinely, we did a Patreon a few weeks ago, didn't we? When we were discussing quarterbacks from this year, and I think in that we all had him down as you know right at the bottom of our lists for former first pick quarterbacks that are still in the league that are still playing. And I don't know what it is. I don't, his accuracy seems to be all over the place. He doesn't seem to have any confidence in his receivers. He doesn't seem to be able to prolong plays, even though his offensive line is dodgy. But then most offensive lines seem to be dodgy this year. There's only really a handful of teams where you can say their
That's true.
offensive line play is great.
Mm.
Um, but he's not being helped out by his running backs. Yeah, Tank Bigsby's done a bit, but Travis Etienne is starting to look more and more like a bust with every passing game.
But
Yeah.
they're starting to sort of. He doesn't seem to be getting as involved either, ETN.
No,
Just doesn't
no,
I
seem.
said a few
It
weeks
seems
ago
to be a reliance more on.
there was something going on where they weren't playing him and he was unhappy and something was
Yeah.
happening, but I didn't hear what it was on the commentary. I never really paid the interest to actually go back and listen to it. Let me give you some stats as to where the Jags are. So I haven't got numbers next to the stats that I'm looking at, so I can't say that they're 18th, 19th, or whatever they are. So I'm going to give you a corresponding team that they're next to, so you
Okay.
get sort of likelihood. So in terms of passing, this is on offense, the amount of passing yards per game, they
Hmm.
are basically equivalent to the Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders have not been good in the passing game so far. So that's kind
not
of
been good
equivalent
in the
to
run
where they
game
are.
either.
In terms of rushing yards, they are basically equivalent to New England, and New England have not been setting the world alight in
Yeah.
terms of rushing either. So that kind of
Hmm.
puts you in the perspective of where they are. Defense, passing yards, second bottom. They're averaging 264.3 yards per game. They're second bottom. Absolutely terrible. In terms of rushing yards, they are basically level with New Orleans and New England. Oh no, slightly above that. They're level with the Raiders again. In terms of actual points per game that they're conceding, they're pretty much, well, they're third bottom next to Dallas and Carolina. So there's your issue.
There you go. That's
Everything. It's not one thing across the board.
yeah.
It's not this, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's everything. Is that a coaching issue? Is it a team issue? Is it a culture issue?
You
Who
don't.
knows?
There's so much going on, isn't there? There's probably an element of everything in there. Like you said, coaching issue. Maybe there's probably some egos in the dressing room that sort of need to sort of get in check. That are trying to sort of
But to be
overplay
that
things.
bad
But
across the
it's
board,
yeah. And even in this game, I mean, the Eagles had opportunities to score extra points that they and you'd say
I was
easy
going
points
to
to
say
put up, and they couldn't do it.
it also kind of proves that the Eagles are not particularly good either. The
No.
fact that they creeped out to a what 21 was it 21 point lead, something like that, and then 24 point lead, I want to say it was, and then all of a sudden just kind of collapsed completely, let Jacksonville back into it, and it took a ridiculous Dante Smith catch to kind of break the back and score enough points to get them ahead with as little time remaining so that there was no chance the Jags could get back into it again. But
Jags could
it
still be playing now and they wouldn't have got back into it.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Mm.
But Philly themselves are just I don't know, man. The offense is good. Don't get me wrong. When you've got Saquon Barkley and you've got Dante Smith and all the others on there, they're always going to put up some points. But they just seem so lackadaisical in the way they do it. And they left an awful lot of points on that field.
Mm.
Yeah.
A lot of them, just
And it's
through
not the first time this season either.
Sirianni's
No.
hubris of, oh, I don't want to kick a field goal. Kick three more field goals. It's an extra 9 points. It doesn't matter. You
Well,
know?
this
But
is
at
it.
the
It
same
doesn't matter
time,
how the points get up, as long as you get the points on
Yeah,
there and you win the
exactly.
games.
at the same time, Dan Campbell does that. It's just that he's effective and good at converting on fourth down. That's the only
That's the
difference.
difference.
It's not the approach that's the problem, it's the execution. There is one more
Mm.
thing that happened in this game, Saquon Barkley, but I'm hoping that that's going to make an appearance
We'll
later on
talk
because
about Saquon Barkley
if it
later.
doesn't, I'm
Let's
going to
put a pin
hunt
in
you
that
down
one.
and set fire to your house in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. Because if
The
that's not in there, we
sleeping,
riot.
what's that? I
I
don't
don't know.
sleep.
Right.
Um,
Well, festa,
Sa-
whatever you
Before
want to
you
call
go
it.
and burn
Saquon
his house,
Barkley
then
may make an appearance later in this program, so
Good.
there we go.
stay tuned for that one. Um, no, I just wonder with Sirianni if it's hubris or he just thinks he's untouchable. I don't know.
No, he's
But you're
shy.
right. You're right. This is the first game that I've ever seen the tush push not work twice in a row.
Mm.
You know, and
I
if you
think some
can't
of that is
execute the
Kelsey, though.
tush push, yeah, everyone's saying some of that is Kelsey. But hang on a minute. The previous 7 games this season or whatever, they were fine with it. It hasn't really been that much of a problem. So either teams have worked out how to defeat the current center whose name I'm just not going to know,
John
or
Smith.
might as well be, or actually, there's something up with the way they're putting this together, and that in a really weird kind of NFC, I expect the Eagles will probably still just about fluke the playoffs, but they're really not going anywhere.
Probably, but it'll be a one and done situation. They're
I would
just
have thought so.
not getting anything
Cam
going. But
Jurgens, by the way, is the centre for the Eagles.
Jurgens, that's it.
Yeah.
not Jurgens.
There you go. Right.
There we
Next.
go. Next, right. Let's have a bit of New England Patriots 17, Tennessee
God.
Titans 20.
Yeah, this game was dire. Let's not bother.
Can we not? Can we just
There
skip
we
it a
go.
bit?
Well, of course we could. Look, we've got
The
freedom
Titans
today.
did well to win the game. I still think that they should put Will Levis in. That's my 2 pennies worth.
Mr. Mayo
He
boy.
was injured. I think it transpired that the reason he wasn't playing was
Okay.
because he was injured.
Well, when he's fit, stick him back in.
I would agree, but
Actually, yeah.
bar bar a bit of a miracle play at the end of the game, there was nothing, absolutely nothing to talk about in this game.
No, there really
Two
wasn't.
crap teams playing a crap
It was
game.
just
Occasionally, I mean,
And just who had the ball at the right time.
you and I know this from supporting the two teams that we do. Occasionally, when you support a bad team or you get two bad teams together, it actually makes an excellent game. This was the opposite. This was just turgid.
Uninspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Done. Easy. Let's go to another overtime game. I don't know why I'm going to bring this up, but we may as well do it. LA Rams 26, Seattle Seahawks 20.
Every time I put faith in your Seahawks, they have let me down this season. I don't
This
know
is
why.
why you should not put faith in us.
I know, but
If you
of
just,
all my
it's the
island
hope
games,
that kills you, punk.
of all the island games in the pick, this is the one that let me down. It's ridiculous. I had like 3 or 4 island games, and this is the one. I'm like, Gino, what are you looking at?
Do you know what? I've got two takes on this game. The only thing I want to do is jump in here, and I know I'm interrupting, and I apologize. Gino Smith is the only quarterback in the league who is either fantastic or crap. He has no middle
There's
ground.
no middle ground. There is absolutely no middle ground. It's ridiculous. He had some genius throws in this game, and my God, he had some absolute
Horror
donkeys.
shows.
Absolute
horror shows.
Cost you the game. Absolutely cost the Seahawks.
Massively. I don't know what he was. That pick six, he is backpedaling big time. He's being pressured, and for some reason he just throws the ball.
Just got rid of it because he panicked.
If you're going to throw the ball, throw it miles out or take the sack, mate. We're still in the red zone.
It's 2 red zone interceptions. You can't do that.
Yeah, you're never gonna win a game
in a close game.
throwing that.
Never.
An undersized Seahawks quarterback who throws interceptions off the back foot. I can't wait for the Broncos to trade for this guy and give you 2 first-round picks for it because there's precedence there. On Matt
Give it another
Stafford,
4 years first.
yeah, I know. Yeah, getting to nearly 40. On Matt Stafford, his stats don't bear it out, and forget about the stats for a moment and just focus on try and remember what the game was. He might be, and this is controversial to say, and I'm glad Jim's not here because Jim would rip me a piece to pieces on this. He might be a top 5 quarterback at the moment because in terms of the way that he's handling that offense, he's doing such a good job, like such a good job.
Has he been made to look better because he's now got receivers to throw at, whereas the
Well,
last few weeks he had no one?
but you got to remember, Puka Nakua went out in this game for throwing a punch, so he was ejected, and he was only really left with Cooper Cup. Doesn't really have a tight end. The run game is okay. I mean, Carrion Williams got less than 70 yards on 22 carries, so there's no change there, and most of the offense is on him. If you
Yeah,
actually
but
go and watch it and look at the eye test, I think Matt Stafford at the moment, I'm not
I
saying
think
he is,
5 is pushing it. I
maybe.
think 5 is pushing it. Just when you go Jackson, Mahomes, Allen, Goff,
Bo Nix.
Daniels.
Daniels.
I'm not having Daniels at 5. I'm not
I'm,
having him in the top
I'm
5 at
just
the moment.
throwing
Yeah,
names
yeah, I
out
know what you're
that
saying, mate.
I love Bo
that would
Nix though.
Yeah.
he'd be in that conversation. Darnold. I think he's in that
Yeah.
conversation. I think he's in that conversation with Darnold and
I think he's ahead of Donald, but yeah.
maybe Kyler Murray as well.
But no one's seemingly talking about it.
Well, it's
He's
because
doing such a
he's
good
had
job.
nothing. I mean, Kyron Williams has scored a touchdown in every game, hasn't he? Bar this
Apart from the
last.
last one, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the running game has to a degree helped him out a little bit. Look, Matt Stafford has always been a good quarterback, even when he was in Detroit and they were bad teams. You could tell he was a good quarterback. That's how he got his trade to the Rams. He's a tough quarterback as well. He'll always hang in the pocket to the last second and with his eyes downfield. He won't hear ghosts. He won't shut his eyes and throw it up and pray. I think Matt Stafford has been a very, very, very good NFL quarterback for the last 10 years, if not more. Um, not, I get what you're
The
saying.
thing is, if you look at the
Can
throws,
you take out, but can you take out? I mean, yes, there are some throws that he makes that you just think, how the hell did you squeeze that in there?
well, it's
But
also
those
the
are
fact that
becoming less and less as
but
time
it's the
goes
fact that if you look at Cooper Cup, for example, a lot of Cooper Cup's yards are yards after catch. And it's the difference between him and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy will get yards after catch because the guy will have to correct himself, catch the ball, turn, run.
on. Yeah,
Hmm.
Cooper Cup does not break stride because he
no,
doesn't have to break stride.
no,
And that all comes from the quarterback plays. What we used to see with Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown could turn on a sixpence. We never needed to because Roethlisberger was able to get him the ball on the run. I'm praising the Steelers. I feel dirty, but you get what I mean. He was able to get him on the run, and then therefore, when he did have
yeah.
to change a direction, he'd get 40, 50 yards. It's
Hmm.
just what he was
What
brilliant at, and Matt Stafford is so good at that.
And Matt Stafford has been. I mean, you think back to the Megatron days in Detroit as well.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same then. The one thing Matt Stafford is accurate.
Mm.
He's not errant with his throws. He doesn't just I mean, take this game for example, where Gino's just throwing the ball blind and not even knowing
Yeah,
where
he's
his
not doing
receiver.
that.
Matt Stafford has always got a visualization in his head of where every receiver is on the field and what he should be able to do with the ball. Does it always work? No. Um, I think you're right in that over the since everyone started coming back, it's kind of taken a bit of pressure off him and he's enjoying it more. I
Mm.
think he's playing with more of a
Hmm.
smile on his face, and just relaxing a little bit. You could see sometimes in those earlier games of the season, he was almost not forcing it, but realizing that, oh, right, I haven't got Cooper and Co. I need to be the one that does this. And I
Sort of
think
taking it
sometimes
all of the
that
weight
that he
himself.
kind of pushed it a little bit too much, and that kind of came back to bite him a little bit. Um, I've always liked Matt Stafford as a quarterback. I think if you wanted to build a franchise, he's almost everything that you'd want in that he's got arm strength, he's got accuracy, he's definitely got a good brain in
He's
his head,
quiet,
and he
and he
and
doesn't
he's
spend all, he doesn't
tough.
spend all the times
Yeah.
in
He's
the
tough.
headlines. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good locker room dude, and he's just a tough player.
Yeah.
You know, think back to again, I'm going back to Detroit, but throwing last minute touchdowns with dislocated shoulders and things like that. You know, this is a Detroit team that was like 3-10 or something at the time when he did it, and it was just he will stand in there and he will do it. I guess the question will be is, and you know, as all quarterbacks of that age are, how quickly the decline comes. You know, obviously Peyton Manning fell off the cliff. Tom Brady was able to kind of manage it over a few years. It'll be interesting to see what
Hey
he and
man,
the
Peyton
Rams
Manning
can
fell
do.
off a cliff, but he still won a Super Bowl in his last game.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm just saying it's you know it'll be interesting to see whether he does fall off a cliff or whether
Yeah.
he and the Rams are able to manage him through that a bit. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I really don't.
Cliff
Um,
might be a bit high. I don't know, but
he's definitely
I
top
feel it
10.
feels a bit
he's
high, but
better than a lot of players out there.
yeah,
A lot of players,
he's
purely on what
definitely
he's
in the
able to do
conversation.
rather than talent.
The other thing with Stafford is you always feel like you could pick him out, plug him into any other team, and he'd
Mm.
get it. He'd just immediately
Yeah,
get it. And
pre-snap he's
Mm,
so good that you'd be able to adapt to most
yeah.
defenses, offenses. Other shout out to Christian Roseboom, who got 11 tackles in this game as well. He's a linebacker for the Rams, and he stood
yeah.
out in the game every single time anyone broke the line. He was there to make a tackle and swallow them up, and did it on key third downs as well. So well done to him.
I'm going to shut up now and let you, Finn, just talk about what you want to talk about this game.
He
Was
doesn't
there
want to
any?
talk
I
about this
I
game.
I
No,
wouldn't
no,
really
no.
want to talk about this game, to be
I'm
honest.
really interested to know because there were times where your offensive line looked fairly reasonable and were
I think
giving time. Then there were other times where it just looked like they were getting run over.
yeah, and that's sort of been the story this whole season is it's normally it's a game by game as to what side we're going to get. Are we actually going to be able to move the ball on offense and then actually make plays on defense? Whereas this seemed to be a game where both elements happened within the game. I mean, we've spoken about the picks that Gino threw, and the just sort of mind blank that he must have gone through before throwing it. But then you look at other plays. I mean, some of the explosive plays to Smith and Jigba for a couple of quick touchdowns. You're then going, right, the offense is back and it's firing. We seem to, and I've said it so many times. When the offense plays well, it's because we actually get a bit of a run game going as well. And I thought that Kenneth Walker had a good game. Charbonnet was brought in and did well. Yes, there
I still
was
think you don't use him enough,
no, I
Charbonnet.
don't. No, I think there's definitely an over reliance on Kenneth Walker, um, but it's good that Charbonnet's there and getting attempts, and he's only going to grow as a player. But the Rams defense did a good job. Our defense is still questionable, which is a concern with the.
But beginning of the season, they were so good.
Well, this is the
So
problem.
good.
It's where it's why and where it's gone wrong. There was a
Mm.
blip where we had was about 4 or 5 weeks where we had a lot of our starters were injured, but now most of them are back. So it's a case of what is going on. We to start with, we were really struggling against the run, and teams were just running up right through the middle, um, running end routes, and we just couldn't deal with it. And now we're susceptible to sort of the pass game as well and the deep ball, which is surprising because our secondary is so strong, but it just seems that it's not quite clicking. But I think we've got head coach first head coach job. Yes, he's got a defensive background, so you'd hope that that would be sorted. Offensively, we've got weapons, but again,
I,
it's a very very early sort of offensive coordinator. But I
I'm not
just
sure that there's a couple of things. I'm not sure that the issues with your defense are anything to do with coaching. I just think it's a lot of young players. It's very young defense as well.
it's very young,
Young
a lot of
defense
rookies in
in
there.
what everyone says is a very difficult, complex defense to pick up. Um, I think the other thing is it will get better as you go forward.
Oh, definitely. I think there's definitely going to be. I mean, we've seen signs. It's just frustrating when you can like we saw first 3 weeks defense was phenomenal, and I think, well, I can speak for myself, got a bit carried away and thought, oh, we're going to have a good season. Then it's all just sort of since then it's been a bit of a seesaw sort of season.
So we've got another piece of breaking news, another
Oh,
trade.
please.
The Seahawks have traded DK Metcalf to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 6th-round pick.
What?
No
Yeah.
way.
As
Is
per
that genuine?
Schefter. Yeah.
Is that genuine?
I read that we weren't getting rid of. I thought I read that we weren't trading him.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
So, unfortunately, it looks like you're sticking with Jackson Smith-Njigba then. I mean, you've still got enough wide options, so
I mean,
I mean,
don't get me wrong. I think Njigba has done really well stepping in for DK the last few games. Is he ready to take over and be the number one? Yeah, he might be. He
you
might
have
actually.
to be, innit?
it's going to have
But
to be now.
but DK to the Bucks. Wow, I didn't
Well,
see that coming at all.
Mike Evans is injured, so it must be as a replacement for
Mike
Mike
Evans is
Evans.
injured and Chris Godwin's injured as well.
No, there you go.
And
That'll be why
yeah,
then.
after watching Tampa Bay game on Monday night, which I'm sure we'll get to,
Yeah.
there was an awful lot of swing passes to running backs and passes to the tight ends, and not a lot going to the receivers. So yeah, I mean, it's not surprising the Bucks are in for a receiver of some kind. I'm just probably a bit surprised that Seattle have allowed, is that the right word? I don't
I'm
decided to part ways with DK.
I'm very surprised by that.
Yeah. What's the next game we're looking at?
What is the
Been in
next game
shock
we're
from
looking
that
at?
trade.
I'm gonna go get box tissues first, and
Not that excited, are you?
not for that reason.
Sad tissues, not happy
Sad
tissues.
tissues. Right, let us go to the Washington Commanders 27, New York Giants 22.
The drought is over.
It
What
is.
a shock!
I know, right?
This
The
should be
Chiefs.
breaking
Now,
news.
just to kind of prove how shocking this is, and the reason why I've been banging on about it for like last 2 months, the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the time that Daniel Jones has thrown his 2 most recent passing touchdowns at
I've
MetLife.
I've got a
It's
better one.
unbelievable.
Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have got married and divorced
And
so between those 2 touchdowns. That was on Annie Agar on Twitter, which I really like.
Oh,
Yeah, not good. The Giants. I still maintain though that the Giants are the best team to watch in the NFL
Giants
because
were
their
good.
pass rush is fantastic. Their secondary is awful, so they get torched over the top, which makes it exciting. And the offense is turgid. I like Tracy, that the running back that they've got. I think he's
Trace.
got a lot about him.
I think he's a good player.
If the Giants get someone competent at playing quarterback, I don't think they're a million miles away. Stick with Dave-O. You'd be stupid to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're not too far away.
I think you're right. If you were to, let's say you were to supplant, we were talking about him just now, Matt Stafford into New York with Tracy, Malik Neighbors, who are their other receivers? I was going to say Sterling Shepard, but he's not there anymore.
Shepard's gone.
He's in
It's
Tampa Bay.
bugger. He did really well last week.
Slayton,
Hang on,
Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton.
There we are.
Chris Mannix as well, former Bronco.
That's going to make a huge difference to them. Daniel Jones, yes, he had his lovely touchdown run where, he's taking out opponents and he's running angry and wanting to lay the boom on people.
I don't want that from my quarterback.
I don't want that from my quarterback.
Don't do that.
But quite clearly, he doesn't have the confidence to find his receivers in that situation. So, it's, I don't know, man. There's something about this Giants team. I think they're quietly putting together a good group, but it's going to cost them a lot to get that quarterback. So it's whether or not they can balance keeping that group together, and balance keeping the group together versus, okay, we're going to hamstring ourselves if we cut Jones and pick someone else up. I think Giants would be really interesting to watch in the off season. But you're right. I mean, that defensive line is phenomenal. Osi Umenyiora, Michael
Mm.
Strahan, Justin Tuck lines that they used to have. And, Dexter Lawrence is just playing out of his skin at the minute.
Sexy
So
Dexy. What a name.
Dexy is just he's a phenomenal player. He
So
really is.
I'm looking at Daniel Jones's contract now. So there's an out. So he's still got 2 years left after this season. They've put in an out, so clever of them. Putting an out after 2024. So this year, they can basically get out of it, and all they've got to swallow is a 22.2 million dead cap. And
It's
let's
not
be
too bad.
honest, you do that for a defensive lineman. So
Yeah.
I mean, compared
I
to
think
what the Broncos are swallowing, you do that. And that's it after this season. There's 1 year
I've
dead
got a
cap,
question.
22
they've
million.
got to do it, I think.
After that,
because
if they keep him, the dead cap for 2025 would be 41.6 million, and the dead cap for 2026 would be another 58.6 million.
Yeah,
So
you've
they're
got
getting
to
rid of
do
him.
you've got to do it now.
Right. I've got a question then. If you're the Giants,
Yeah.
let's assume that we're cutting Daniel Jones at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Are you looking to draft
No,
a
free agency.
quarterback, or would you go and pick one up?
Free agency, I mean, win now.
I agree.
The only
I think
reason
Win
being,
now.
in the draft, I don't think there's anyone who can come in and win now. I think someone like Ewers could come in and be good, but he'd need a little bit of time.
I think
The
they'd
question is
still.
then who, and I don't know what the answer to that is.
no.
I think they go. Like I said, they bring someone in, win now, because they've got pieces, and we've said it. If they've got a serviceable quarterback, they'll do far more than they're doing at the moment. But I think they also pick someone up in the draft, and they have him as a longevity piece.
I've got it.
That would be the perfect balance, I think.
I've got it. Kirk Cousins. They've already got their quarterback.
It's true. It's a possibility.
And he
Depends how
does
far
fit
the
that.
Falcons go. It depends how far the Falcons go in the playoffs, I reckon.
Maybe.
Now, if the Falcons go divisional or championship game, then I think the Falcons would keep him for another year at least. I don't think Penix is ready to kind of just step in and
We
take
don't know
over.
yet. He might come in and be
Well,
absolutely amazing. We just don't
Well,
know.
he's played a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't count.
Games and what have you. But
Ooh, I've got another name for you.
go on.
Derek Carr. Because Spanky
No.
Rattler's going to be coming in.
But if I'm the Giants, I look at Derek Carr and go, no.
I'm not saying that this is who you should get. I'm on about this is who they could potentially get.
If the Giants went out and got Derek Carr, they would lose Malik Neighbors entirely because he just
Maybe. I can't think of any other names. There's another trade, by the way. So the Rams are sending Tre'Davious White to the Ravens, and they're swapping 7th-round picks. That's a salary
Ravens
thing.
need help. Ravens defense definitely needs help.
Yeah.
Tre'Davious White was really good. How much has he got left in the tank?
Well, that's it. That's what we're going to find out, isn't it?
Very quick word on Washington. They're really good. You don't need to say any more than that.
They are just
really good.
They are good.
I know Paul's probably listening to this. Sorry, Paul, but you're at the
You've had enough
elevated
praise.
level now where your only concern has to be the playoffs, because I think you are a playoff team. You're playoff bound. You're in the same position as Baltimore. You're not judged by what you do in the regular season now. You're judged by what you do in the playoffs, because I think you're now that far ahead of your competition in your group. So well done. And that is the biggest compliment you can pay anyone, by the way.
And to do that in half a season,
that's
where they were at the end of last year with
Don't choke it. Keep going. Don't choke.
They're not going to choke this. They're not going to. They're even if they were to lose another couple of games, couple of 3 games, they're not going to do it. They've
got enough of a
young
buffer,
enough,
haven't they?
and they've got But even without a buffer, I think they're playing freely. They all bought into the systems, offense and defense. Yeah, defense can be a bit woolly, but that's not the end of the world. Let's be honest. We've seen plenty of teams with a slightly dodgy defense do things in the playoffs. So, I think I love it. I like watching the Commanders now as well,
especially when they're in
that little group. They're in that little group of teams where I actually look forward to their games each week.
Exciting to watch.
Yeah. Can we play a very, very quick game then? So I'm going to tell you their remaining fixtures towards the end of the season. I want you both very quickly just to say win or loss. Okay. So home against the Steelers.
Giving away my pick for later, but yeah, win.
All right, I'll skip this one then. So Eagles Commanders. So Eagles at home.
Win.
Win.
Then they got home to the Cowboys.
Win.
Win.
Home to the Titans, sorry.
Win.
Win.
Away to the Saints.
Win.
Win.
I
But
mean,
closer
college
than you
teams could beat the
think.
Saints. Come on. At home to the Eagles.
Lose. They'll
I'm gonna
split
go
with the Eagles.
Finn.
win. I'm
Whichever way
going.
round.
At home to the Falcons.
That'd be a tasty game.
That would be enjoyable. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go
Home
win.
to the Falcons. Yeah, I'll go win.
And away to the Cowboys.
Win.
So there you go. Based on what you've basically said there's a
There you go. They're
lot
in.
of wins coming out.
Maybe 2 losses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe 2 losses because they've got the Steelers this weekend, and then after that they play the Cowboys twice, and they should absolutely torch the Cowboys both times. And then after that, you're looking at maybe the Eagles and the Falcons, and that's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which
There you go.
inevitably means they're going to lose to the Saints.
Yeah.
So there you go.
0-6 in the next few games.
Well, there we go. Right, let's have the Detroit Lions 24, Green Bay Packers 14.
I haven't got a huge amount to say about this other than the Packers really, really underperformed in this game. This game was more about the Packers than it was the Lions. I
I
think that's
agree.
pretty much
I
all
think
I've
the
got to
fact
say.
that this was set up perfectly for Green Bay and that the weather was in their favor is not yet as cold as it can be, but it still was by far more suited to them, especially the fact this was the Lions' first outdoor game of the season as well. And I mean, the Lions just it didn't affect them whatsoever. Goff was as accurate as he has been, and the run game was brilliant as well. And we know how good their line is. Their lines are, they're never going to be wavered from that side. It was just a typical Lions performance, I guess.
I think the most impressive thing for me from the Lions was that when Brian Branch went out, it didn't look like Brian Branch had gone out. It was just next man up, away we go,
Go do
trust
your
the
job.
system, go do your job. And, if, yeah, we're all up in arms about whether or not he should have been ejected and blah, blah, blah. But just the fact that it didn't make any difference to the Lions on defense, I think, is just testament to how good they are, to be honest, and how well they're being coached at the minute.
Mhm.
I think, like I said, I've said this many a time. I'm not sure Jordan Love is actually an NFL quarterback. I think he has his moments, but honestly, a bit like Geno Smith, he's either really, really good or really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Um, it's some of the throws he was making were ridiculous, especially in that weather. When it's teeming down with rain, you can't be lasering it to your receiver on the outside and expecting him to be able to just catch it while under pressure. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, and as for that flipping interception he threw, that pick
Oh,
six, that was just, what was he even seeing there? There was three lions just stood there waiting for the ball, and he threw it right at him.
but he does it
It's,
so often as well. He does. He just sometimes he must look at them and get confused with the color of the jersey they're wearing
I
because
don't
he's done it in so many games, and he loves it. He loves a cross body throw as well, which always gets picked off.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things you're first taught as a quarterback in high school: do
Yeah.
not throw the ball across your body.
And let's not forget the last pass he threw in the playoffs last year was a crossbody interception to end the game. So he's got form
Yeah.
for it.
Mhm.
This game was so bad. I'm going to offer you some breaking news, which Punk, I'm sure you probably already know about. You have the Raiders have a new offensive coordinator, Scott Turner, who has been elevated from the passing game, is going to be the new offensive coordinator, and Norv Turner is going to be his senior advisor. While
Yep.
Joe Philbin, who I know nothing about, is going to be the interim offensive line coach.
So Norv Turner is a previous head coach of the Raiders and
Oh, really?
the Chargers, and is Scott Turner's father.
Oh,
So,
okay, right. So Daddy's
so
taken over,
well,
basically.
they've kind of had this thing over, well, certainly through the latter end of North Turner's coaching career. He basically took Scott to every team that he would coach at, whether it was as a head coach or an offensive coordinator, and kind of embed him in there. And so I think Scott's worked as a I think he's worked as a quarterbacks coach, an offensive line coach, a strength and conditioning coach.
He's
So
been all
he's
over the shop.
learned, yeah, he's learned how to play. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens because certainly when North Turner was head coach with us, it weren't very good.
Mm,
But then there aren't many coaches that have been very good with the Raiders over the last 20 odd years.
true story.
So it's an interesting one. I'm sure it will be interim. North Turner is retired, so I guess he's just coming back as a bit of an advisor because his son asked him to, as much as anything. But yeah, give Scott Turner a chance and see what happens because the guy he knows his football. He's grown up around the NFL. It's probably about time he had a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it makes any difference or not, who knows? With the personnel we've got, you'd like to think it should. But equally, yeah, I think I said in a separate conversation with you guys earlier that it's probably 3 or 4 weeks too late, to be honest, to have any
Mm.
impact for this season, other than get us to the end. And you know, I'm in the group now, probably of let's tank it all and pick up a quarterback in the draft and just start building for next year. Now, if this is part of that process, then great. If it's also just part of let's get Getsy out of the building, I'm also equally on board with that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
um,
I'm
interesting,
I'm not
and it's
against hiring young, promising guys who've got famous dads, because Clint Kubiak was with Gary Kubiak
yeah,
at the
yeah,
Broncos, did really,
exactly,
really well.
exactly the
Um,
same sort of situation.
I mean, if you've got a guy who's got no experience, I mean, unless his name's Gary Guardiola and he's got his dad with him, then I'm probably not overly fussed. But this guy's got experience, so he's not a nobody,
Yeah,
So yeah, I've got no issue with that. And same with 49ers as well. Shanahan it was obviously Mike Shanahan was with Kyle Shanahan, both together, I think in
Hmm.
Washington and in Denver as
yeah.
well. So
Yeah,
that kind of thing, I've got no issue with that.
there you go. Let's keep with the
As we
theme.
mentioned the Broncos, can we do the Broncos game next because it's really quick? Really good team beating a up and coming young team. That's kind of all we need to say about it. If
Is
you can
it
give the
though?
score,
Oh, I
I
feel
love
like
it.
we
Is
could. I
it
feel like we could
really
give.
that it?
Now there's
I,
no gym. We could really, really go ham on the
You
praise for the
could if you
Ravens.
wanted to.
it would be nice to be able to talk about how good the Ravens are without Jim jumping in every 2 minutes going, yeah,
Mm,
but
Yeah,
yeah.
but they play in
and
purple. No, they were really good. They were really, really good. They were effective. They were professional. They came in, did a job, and went. It's kind of like when you watch a heavyweight fighter um,
Boxing analogy.
defend his title against some guy who's nowhere near as good. Go in, lead with the right hand, finish him, get out the ring, get your payday done. No messing about, no injuries. It was
It's all
exactly as it should have
professional.
been. Yeah, absolutely was. Nice to see Bo Nix getting the Philly special. I mean that reception was really good, and I did let out a
Maybe,
little
maybe that's
scream.
maybe that's his real calling.
Hey man,
Maybe,
wide
there's
maybe,
nothing
receiver.
wrong with that.
maybe he shouldn't be a QB.
And Cortland Sutton had a great game, 122 receiving yards and a thrown touchdown. Of course, was on my fantasy bench because why not? Because that's
Why
where
not?
people play well.
I have got one question about your defense, actually, because
Yeah.
see, I don't know as much about it as you do. Lamar got like 208 yards off about, I think it was 15 or 16 completions.
Mm.
I didn't see all of this game. Was the majority of it
It
because
it was packing the box for
yards
Derrick
after
Henry.
catch, or was
No,
it right?
it was
Okay,
packing the box for Derrick
it
Henry.
was you
Um,
deliberately picking to stop Henry
yeah,
and say Lamar beat us, and he did.
pretty much. Well, the thing is, Lamar, because he's so fast, he's able to effectively take a three-step drop and then take another three steps if he feels pressure and then play it over the top. So you can't do the usual things that you want to. It's really difficult to play against him when you've got receivers like Zay Flowers who are having, I'm not going to say career days, but almost. Um, and he played very well. We were away at Baltimore. It's a long way to go. They're just a really good team. I know they've lost against the Browns this season, and they've had one or two games where they've not been good. But when
That
they're in
Browns
this
game,
form, they
just one of those
It's
stupid
just a
hiccup
blip, wasn't
games.
it? Yeah.
yeah, it's just one of those things where you're gonna have um, there's gonna be times when you are uh, where you're coming up against teams who are just better than you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, no, I do agree somewhat, and I think the only thing that's really surprised me about the Ravens is how much they're running Derrick Henry during this regular season. I honestly thought when he went to Baltimore, it was like, okay, so they'll play him a bit during the regular season just to keep him kind of topped up and in shape, and then they'll just unleash him during the playoffs.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
Now maybe that's the plan for the second half of the season. I don't know, but it just feels to me like they are not reliant on him. Definitely not, because it's definitely Lamar's offense and Lamar's team, but. I think Derrick Henry for me last year in at Titans, he definitely felt like he'd lost a step or was
Or
getting
I still think he
missing the
has.
odd game here and there late in the
Yeah.
season because
Yeah.
he was starting to pick up a few niggles and knocks and stuff. And I just wonder whether or not the Ravens might start just kind of easing him back out a little bit for a few games now and then
Protect him for
make
the.
sure it's fit and healthy going into the playoffs. Because I look at the Ravens very much like we were talking about the Commanders.
Mm.
The idea now is not to worry about anything. It's just to go out and do your job and
Yeah.
get off the field without injuries, and then worry about the playoffs.
The way that I'm looking at it is they're running Derrick Henry so that they don't have to run Lamar Jackson. He had 3 rushing attempts this week for like 4 yards, and that was him getting out the box. They weren't genuine drawn up rushing attempts.
Yeah,
So
Mm.
he's getting the ball, so Lamar Jackson's not. And if Derrick Henry takes the hit and gets injured because of that, fine. You've still got Lamar
Still
Jackson,
got
and he's
one.
the
Yeah.
winner. That's my view. I might not be right,
yeah. It's
but
it's an
I'm
interesting way.
Mate, it's
sacrificing him,
definitely
so I'm
plausible,
keeping
isn't
my
it?
quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
maybe
without him,
maybe.
their backup's Josh Johnson, and he's tosh. So
Mm.
Yeah,
season over. But no, they were
yeah.
really good. They were really, really good.
But they are, I mean, they are ridiculously good, and Jim jumping all over them after they lost their first two games. It was ridiculous, to
Typical,
be honest.
typical Jim behavior, though, isn't it?
Listen,
Really,
man.
it's what we've
Listen,
come to expect.
I'm gonna defend Jim here because if the Chiefs would
Oh,
have
here
lost
we go.
their first 2 games, we would have destroyed them. We would have
No,
absolutely. You're there shaking your head. You know
we
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 would
we
have.
we, we would have sat there and gone, but it's the Chiefs. We know they'll make the playoffs
No, no,
anyway.
no,
And we
bollocks.
know
Would we
that
have? If they'd have looked as bad as
Speak for
they
yourself,
did.
Dave.
I'm not having that.
I told you, man. I told you last week. Chiefs are losing this week, and they're not going to win for 2 years. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Oh,
it's on.
yeah, yeah.
Watch. Yeah. Mark your words. Hey.
There
Right.
you go. That was the Broncos game in a way.
Let's go to another bit of a blowout then. Chicago Bears 9, Arizona Cardinals 29. Now,
I
what?
listened back to last week, Punk, and you said you're not as high on the Bears as the rest of us. And I didn't pick up on when you said that. I'm not high on the Bears, and I resent that. I feel like I've been scorned. I am not high on the Bears. How
Let's get
dare
the
you?
record straight.
Okay. So let's get the record straight. Last week, this Bears Cardinals game, I was on an island picking the
Yes,
Cardinals at home. Why on earth? What possessed you all to sit there and go,
because
I think the Chicago Bears are going to be a better team than the Arizona Cardinals?
because
They're just
I
not.
said Cardinals go good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. That was my only reckoning for it. And so far this season they had been. I'm I'm
Bears.
working
But
and
now
There's
they've
no,
gone
I'm
there's
good,
no
working
good.
more. There's no
I'm
more
working
good bad
analytics.
team than the Bears at
I'm
the minute.
working analytics. I'm designed to be attracted to patterns and
But
things like
that
that.
trend does not carry through when you're playing the Bears.
Maybe right. Bears were shocking in this game, by the way.
Oh, dreadful.
Bears were
Absolutely.
absolutely awful.
Yeah. How
Did you
much
see?
has that
Did you
last minute Hail Mary really done them? Is it? Do you think that's just drained them out? Is it?
Absolutely destroyed their confidence
There was
entirely.
um there was one clip that Jim sent me, and it was in one of their plays. I can't remember exactly which
Was it a
one.
Steelers play that he was trying to backdoor into the power plays?
I
Because
wouldn't
he's
have
been
surprised.
doing
No,
that.
that was his other clip that he sent me. I get about 5 of them on the daily, so it's always good fun. But on this one, Williams is running around trying to make the play, extends the play for quite a while, and in the top of the screen, you can see DJ Moore just walks off.
Yes.
I saw that.
And did
Saw
you
that
did you
one.
hear DJ Moore did an interview, and I can't remember who it was with. It might have been on who's the punter who's got his show on? I can't remember what it's called.
Pat McAfee.
McAfee. It might have been on that one. And they basically said to DJ Moore, has Thingy lost the dressing room? Has Matt Eberflus lost the dressing room? And he said, I'm not going to say no, but, and then gave this long, convoluted answer. I was like, holy fudge, that is a terrible thing to do. But he's basically, I'm not going to say no. I mean, the thing is, he is very, very lucky this week that Michael Thomas decided to do what he done. Otherwise, that would have been head of the top the NFL headlines.
Yeah,
So yeah, not unshabby.
Bears were awful. So keep it moving then. Las Vegas Raiders 24, Cincinnati Bengals 41.
Tonking, we're not good. We know we're not good. I
This
mean,
is the same as the Broncos game, isn't it?
it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's kind of this weird thing with the Raiders where we always look really good on our first 15 scripted plays, and then it all just falls apart.
Yeah.
You know, I think six of the last
Structure
seven games
goes.
or something, we scored touchdowns on our first drive of the game, and then just completely falls apart whenever you ask people to do things on the fly. So, we weren't good.
Dan
It's
Orlovsky made a really, really good point. The first 15 plays, or whatever number it would be, 10, 15, 20, the first lot of those plays are scripted, and they're not scripted by the offensive the offensive coordinator. They're scripted by a panel of coaches.
yeah,
And
it's
after that
everybody
is
has
then
to
up
do
to
it,
the offensive coordinator.
which
And
is
that's
the problem
where
we've
they
had
showed
with Jets.
patterns. They showed analytics of the Raiders' first 15 plays, and then like the next 15 and the 15 how I can't remember what the number, it might have been 20 or whatever it was. The difference is absolutely insane. Now,
No.
some of that might be down to defenses adjusting, some of it might be down to, but either way, the offensive coordinator is gone. So that
But
is
yeah,
what it is.
exactly. So it's
That's
it's
what
kind of
matters.
clean slate and see where we are. Now the interesting thing will be next week now as to see how the play calling is, etc., etc.
Mm.
But you know, it's as what you were saying there. The problem I had with Getsy more than anything was he just didn't see what everyone else on the planet was seeing. That the Raiders are not built on the offensive line to be able to run it between the tackles 2 out of 4 snaps. It just
Mm.
What
just
do you
not
mean?
built that way.
Do you mean
And and
running a screen, outside screen on 3rd and
Or
12?
yeah, exactly. Or for example, Brock Bowers would have an amazing first quarter, then disappear until like 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It's like, well, why are you not getting him the ball?
Yeah,
It's
I still love the fact that you're running screens. I've got a tackle who's 320 pounds. Let's run an outside screen. The guy's absolutely out of his arse.
But we've had plays this season where we've had offensive tackles lining up at wide receiver one. Don't it's
I
oh
I
it's
really hope you're
it's
It's
joking.
genuinely
it's
been
impressive
that
to watch.
bad. The problem I've had with it all though is that I really now just don't want us winning games.
Mm.
I really don't want us
Me
to
too.
turn around and win 5 games now. I don't think we will. You look at our schedule, and yeah, I'm struggling to pick 2 or 3, but
Mm.
strange
Um,
things happen when the pressure's off.
yeah.
Mm.
Can we talk Bengals? Do we think this is the start of something for the Bengals? Is this the start of their momentum?
No.
I still worry about that defense. I know Hendrickson got 4 sacks or whatever it was, but that's against Gardner Minshew and a really porous offensive line. Um, I still think, I think the fact that the Bengals, whenever they've played a decent team this year, have struggled to keep up with them,
Mm.
would indicate that unless they get some help in before the trade deadline, they're probably they'll be knocking on the door of a wild card, but whether they'll actually get through it, I don't know.
Mm.
I think we've
The
seen
offense is good
they've
enough,
got
without a
so much
doubt.
on offense
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that there's no
Offense is
concern on that side of
no
things,
problem.
but defensively they're still so fragile and they allow so many points. I think that is the concern for them,
I
and it
mean,
has been for a while.
the way I'd illustrate it is that in this game against the Raiders, it was 10-10 at half time. So they'd had the whole first half and they hadn't managed to figure it out. Now they did once they made the adjustments at half time, and I think they scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter and held us without. But the
Mm.
defense just we were still moving the ball up and down the field, even though we weren't scoring. They weren't holding us to 3 and outs and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati, I think you're exactly right, Finn. I think Cincinnati on offense, yes, you'd say they're a playoff team without thinking about it. I
Mm.
think their Achilles heel and their downfall will be that defense isn't good enough and they don't seem to be scheming to help themselves.
Yeah,
Mm.
still on a losing record, and if they're an NFC team, I think they're a playoff team. AFC
They
is a lot more difficult.
probably are in the NFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Interesting.
There we go. Right. Let's go for where should we go? Uh LA Chargers 27, Cleveland Browns
Ugh.
10.
I don't even
I,
remember this.
I thought
I'll
I'd
be
go for a nice
brutally
quick
honest.
one.
I've watched it and I've watched the highlights and I've watched it on Red Zap. I remember nothing
Just
about
hasn't
this.
sunk in.
It just
Well, I
I
mean,
think
it's probably to do with the teams that were playing.
Yeah.
I think you can put it down with that. What was the game we said earlier? Patriots Titans. It's just
Mm.
one of those two teams played, and the Chargers, who are the better team, beat the team that aren't as good. But there
I
was nothing. There was nothing to really pick out from the Chargers. I guess the only thing I'd say is what we were saying earlier, in that the Chargers now seem to be progressing and getting better, and they've started scoring touchdowns. Instead of having to kick field goals, so you can see that that offensive scheme is now starting to take shape. But I just, I don't know, man. I'm certainly not excited by them. I still think Herbert's a quality quarterback. I just wonder if he's going to end up in one of those unfortunate situations where the offense he's in is not made for him, and therefore he never gets those real high caliber weapons around him to help him out.
Mm. I did see that they kept in the first half. Chargers kept the Browns to only 57 offensive yards. So I mean, the
That's a quality stat. I like that.
pinch of
So
salt
the
that it is
Chargers,
the Browns, but it's still to keep
I
anyone
can't
to 57 yards in 30 minutes
can't
of
think of a
football.
fixture between two teams I'd rather watch less.
I mean,
Like
this was 20-3 at half time. So it was, game was over
It
at
was game set
half
match already,
time.
wasn't it?
You know?
There we go then. Nice and easy. Let's keep the train moving and let's go to another underperforming team. Dallas Cowboys 21, Atlanta Falcons 27.
I don't
and
think the Dallas Cowboys are underperforming. I think they're performing at a level that we all expected them to.
oh no, I think they're worse than that. I think you expect them still to be reasonably competent.
Okay,
What's
hoping to.
thing that's quite funny is I'm not talking about Dak's injury because that was not particularly and that's not funny. The thing that's quite funny is there's constantly speculation about Ezekiel Elliott, and then they say no, he's one of our guys. He's
Mm.
a locker room hero. He's etc etc. He didn't travel with the team against the Falcons.
Got left behind
He
for
got left
disciplinary.
behind, and but he was still in the 46-day man squad. So for anyone who doesn't know, basically, you have a 53-man squad. You have to have a long snapper, punter, and a kicker. So that's why it's 53. But then you've got 50 other players. But you're allowed to activate 46 on a game day squad. So a certain proportion of your squad is eligible. The rest of them not eligible. So you can just send them home. Basically, they always stay there though. Ezekiel Elliott was left at home while they travelled to Georgia and was still on the game day team for some bizarre reason. And no answer was given to that by Jerry. Of course, it was Jerry, because why wouldn't it be?
Well,
Um,
naturally.
and it just seems absolutely insane. It really, really does. Rico Dowd, what a catch, by the way. Anyone who hasn't seen it should go and see it. It bounced off his shin,
Mm.
his knee, his thigh, his chest, his chin. Then he caught it. I mean, if you're a cynic, you could say you should have just caught it first time round, but hey, made it look good.
He did get hit.
But that got
It's all for the
injured.
cameras.
He is apparently, according to Jerry, going to be placed on IR, which means he can't play for 4 games, which means he's going to miss the Eagles, the Texans, the Commanders, and the Giants, which means he'll be back for the Bengals.
It's not going to make a
By then,
difference.
no,
That's it. They're done. They're
by
done.
then they're going to be done. So yeah,
Yeah.
and Cooper
Cooper Rush is
Rush and
not the
Dak.
answer.
I was going to say there's
Yeah.
not an enormous difference, is there?
No, not hugely. Um, I guess, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say about Dallas, to be honest. They're just so meh in every department as well. It's not like you can even point out and say, oh, the defense is playing really well, or, they're being let down by the receiving core, or the run game just isn't getting there. There's just nothing. There's nothing they're doing well.
Mm.
Um, it's I would, I mean, we've been saying it for a while, but I would say that seat has got to be getting very, very hot. Knowing that Jerry likes to doesn't like to not win, shall we say? And seeing the Commanders do and what they're doing, and yeah, even the Giants to a degree. I know the
Mm.
Cowboys beat the Giants earlier this season, but I honestly thought the Giants played better. It was just that the Cowboys happened to have CD Lamb on the field. You know, um, I
Can I
I don't know.
offer a
I
scenario?
honestly don't know what to say about the Cowboys.
Well,
They're one of those teams
Just a
that are
mess.
just a mess. Exactly that. And I don't know how to sort them out. I don't think you can pinpoint if they fix ABC, then they'll be 10 times better. I don't think there's anything there. I
get a
think
new
they're just
GM.
on. Well,
Get a new
Well,
GM, that
that's
will
not
help
going to
you.
happen, is
Can
it?
I
GM,
offer a scenario
Go
where
on.
you wish the Cowboys well? Can I offer that scenario? So,
but if they're playing
What
the
do you-
Chiefs
no,
and
no, 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 no. So, where you actually want them to become a playoff team? First and
Go
foremost,
on.
if they become a playoff team,
Hmm.
we're going to watch them get absolutely mauled in the wild card. So that's funny. The other part to it, currently they have 4.5 million of cap space. Okay, most of the players that they can cut to generate cap space carry a dead cap.
Mm.
And if they make the playoffs, they then have to pay guarantees to some players who have signed contracts to the value of 10 million. So they will be 6 million over the cap, which then carries a penalty for next season, which means the penalties, I think, about 18 million. So they're going to carry a penalty of about 18 million. And they're going to have to pay Micah Parsons £1 billion because he's only earning 5 million or so this year. So if they do actually make the playoffs, it's going to ruin them because all the
Yeah.
things they need to do, they're not
Mm.
going to be able to do. So come on, Cowboys.
Pull it
Let's,
together. Come on.
let's be honest. They're not making the
No, I know,
This is
and
not a
that's I think
Cowboys fan pod.
why they've gone and signed who they have. So
Yeah, I think we need to talk about the Falcons, and it feels
yeah,
like, yeah, no, I'd much rather talk about the Falcons than the Cowboys. It feels like the Falcons are starting to get it together. So, a few
Mm.
weeks ago, there, it feels like the offense is sputtering too often, and it's like the pieces aren't all working together, and so on. It feels like now everyone's starting to get it. I think Kirk Cousins he's getting more accurate with his passing. I think they're calling the plays well. I think they're running when they need to run, passing when they need to pass. I think they're being coached. Yeah, but
what is this football by numbers?
well, yeah, but look at it, right? You look at the Raiders, for example, just to pull from my team.
They are
We're
not the
we are
yardstick.
we are no, but we are very often not running when we
Mm.
should be running and
Mm.
passing when we should be running, and bad decision making,
But this is
bad
what we
coaching.
expect from a
But I
Kirk
think the
Cousins team.
Falcons, yeah, but the Falcons are doing that now. I think they're starting to progress and become better as the season goes on.
Mm.
Very much like we were saying about the Chargers before. I think they've got so many new pieces in there that we're all trying to fit together that it was very kind of stop start for the first 5 or 6 weeks. But over the last sort of
Mm.
2 or 3 weeks, I think I've definitely seen improvement on their offense.
Well, they've won
I agree
since
with that.
playing the Chiefs. They've won 5 of the last 6.
Hmm.
And the only game they lost was against the Seahawks.
That was our last
In
good game.
That was your last good game. And in one, two, three of those, they've scored over 30 points. And in the 2 that they didn't see, they scored 26 and 27. So there's points in that team. I think they're
Yeah.
They
probably
score.
sneakily good on offense without us probably realizing it. But they're one of those teams that fall under the radar.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they always do a job, but they don't go and put on a monster performance like the Ravens and go and outscore a team by ridiculous points.
Well,
And
they've got
so
the
it sort
Saints
of
this week, so there's
goes
every
under the
chance
well.
that they may end up doing
Well,
that.
you got to make some headlines at some point.
It's true. Then they got the Broncos the week afterwards, so unlucky. Right, next.
Next, right. Speaking of the Saints, New Orleans Saints 22, the Carolina Panthers 23.
Unbelievable, Jeff. We played these 2 teams
Oh,
back to back. And I think in the prediction pod last week, I mentioned the fact that it was probably closer than we might think, but the Saints were less sucky. In this game, they were awful.
Well, I think we all had the same logic.
Yeah.
Derek Carr's gone back to putting his receivers in hospital with his absolute useless passes.
Yeah.
It's not the first time he's done that either. He did that to a couple of receivers at the Raiders. But the Saints are just a dumpster fire, aren't they?
Is there
They
any reason why you keep playing Derek Carr now? I'm asking Finn this because obviously, Punk, you got skin in the game. So, is
I
there
got
any
skin in
reason
the
why you
game,
don't, why you keep Derek Carr over Spanky Rattler?
I don't think there is, to be honest. I think I, I I think you're now at the point where you've just you got rid of your head coach, so now you can go and start fresh. So why not start with your rookie QB and build something around him and just know that it's a project. It's not, you're not definitely not in win now, and just go in with the mindset of right, let's actually build something for the future, and let's have a 3, 4, 5 year plan. This is where we're going to end up. This is how we're going to get there. But sticking with Carr is not going to get you there. So I think, you know, keep him there, whatever, trade him, whatever, but don't play him. I think once you've got your new head coach in, Spanky Rattler starts, and away you go. That's your
I
rebuild
bet
started.
I bet Alvin Kamara's kicking himself for taking the money and not
Oh, I bet he's not.
trade. I
Oh,
bet
I
he
bet
is.
he's not. I think he's probably doing all right.
No.
So there isn't talking about Derek Carr's contract. So he signed a 5 year, $125 million contract. Some say. However, at the end of this year, there is actually an out, which they've penciled in. So they could bin him off. Now, what that means effectively is that there is a $60 million dead cap. However, if they keep him, then his actual cap hit for the next season is 51.4 million. So you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. So for me, I think you say to Derek Carr, look, go and play golf for a few months, have a bit of time off. We know you love bailing on teams at the end of the season. You've got form for that. We're going to see if Spank is our guy. You're going to get paid either way, and at
Mm,
least we'll know.
yeah.
Because you can't carry on with Derek Carr paying 51 million next season and 61 million the season afterwards. It's just
No,
not
it's not.
right.
It's not viable.
No. There you
There we
go.
go. In
Well
agreement.
done to Carolina on winning another game, though.
Another,
Yes.
is this not their first or they won two?
No, they beat us, didn't they?
Oh,
That's heck. What I did see, nice little stat.
hmm.
First time in his 20 career starts, or NFL starts, that Bryce Young's taken the victory formation.
Good. That's good.
Well
Just thought
done,
I'd throw
Tom.
that out there. Right then, let's go to Miami Dolphins 27, the Buffalo Bills 30.
So close. So close. I knew this would be a close game. I said this in the predictions. It was a throwaway comment of, oh, is anyone picking the Dolphins? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm picking the Dolphins. But no, the Bills did really, really well to win the game. And the games are won and lost in key moments. 61-yard field goal.
Yeah, that was a
Absolutely incredible. In high
monster field
winds.
goal.
It's not just a 61-yard field goal. It's a 61-yard field goal in Buffalo. I mean, that's
Yeah,
100
yeah,
yards everywhere
that's
else.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Just the
crazy.
pure power on
I
that
think
was phenomenal.
I think the thing that impressed me the most was actually Tua. I think he only had three incompletions the entire game.
Is
It
that
was
right?
it was something like it was something like
Some,
25 of 28 or 20. I'm trying to
Let me have
remember
a
now,
look.
22,
yeah, I feel like
29.
he has some
Yeah.
decent numbers as well.
So two is 25 of 28 for 231 and two touchdowns. That's pretty
With
good,
no
in fairness,
interceptions.
with no
That's
interceptions.
That's a pretty good
considering the
day's
guys,
work.
it's 2 weeks back. It's his second game back after his lengthy layoff for the concussion.
Mm.
I think
Mm,
I don't think the Dolphins are bad. I think the Dolphins definitely took it to the Bills and
Mm.
gave them pretty much everything they could handle.
hmm
Uh, it did feel like one of those games that whoever had the ball last would win. And, it was just the Bills happened to get it. But I mean, yeah, smashing a 61 yarder to win the game is not easy. Tyler Bass definitely deserves a pat on the back for that one.
mm.
So it's
Um,
Jerry Sly. Is it Tyler Bass or Jerry Sly?
no, it was
Tyler
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 Bass. Sure,
Bass.
it was.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, there you go. I was thinking it was
I
completely
saw
Sure,
the
it
that
wrong
was.
the
guy.
just to add to your point, Punk, the lead swapped teams 4 times in the second half. So it really was a game of who's got the ball last has a very high chance of winning it. And what a way to win it.
Yeah,
especially.
and it all started quite slow, didn't it? There was a few punts, there was a couple of field
Mm,
goals. It was almost like these two teams had played each other before and kind of know how to
no,
play against each other.
But
no, the
this
game
kind of
plan.
proves, though, that the Dolphins are still a very good team.
Yes,
To be
they
able
are.
to go and do that to the Bills, I don't think the Bills are as good as they think what they are.
No, I think we've said
Um,
that a
No, I
lot
think
this season.
there's still
and
some question marks, isn't there?
I was hiring them more than anyone at the beginning of the season, but I think the Dolphins still need to be considered. Not sure if they'll make the playoffs. Um,
I think
I
they've
think
left themselves a little bit too much to do. I
I
think
think
in the
yeah,
NFC they might have a chance of sneaking in, but
mm,
I don't think in the AFC
AFC
they'll
is
get
tough.
that chance.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
But
maybe if they win out, I don't know what their schedule is. So
Well,
um,
very quickly, they've got the Rams, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Packers, the Jets, Texans, 49ers, Browns, and Jets again. So
well,
there are,
some
you'd
winnable
you'd say
games in that.
definitely 6, 7 winnable games. So
well,
it's not beyond the
there's three divisional games there. If they win out on those, then they've got the Raiders, the Browns. Depends which Packers you get. It's not
It
impossible.
is possible. I suppose the key would be keeping Tua in play.
Yeah.
yeah,
But whatever
yeah,
happens, they're going to be the seventh seed and they're going to come up against the best teams in the AFC. So if
Yeah.
you're going to do it, you've already made it so you're doing it the hard way. It's probably not going to happen, but
Hmm.
at least they know they're on the right track.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Two games left then, chaps, and we are going to the Sunday night game of the Indianapolis Colts 13 and the Minnesota Vikings 21.
I have one question. What happened to Anthony Richardson and why wasn't he playing? Is he injured?
Uh,
benched.
benched. He pulled himself, didn't he,
Oh,
last week? And he's obviously been
He pulled himself for
reprimanded.
one play. Now the noise coming out of the Colts was, yeah, no, that's fine. That's what we'd expect him to do. It's a mature thing to do. If you need to come out, come out. Now, yeah, conventional
rubbish.
wisdom says you're a QB1, you don't get to come out. But
Mm,
in theory, the benching was we feel that well, it's not in theory. The comments were we feel that against the Vikings, Joe Flacco gives us the best chance of winning. The nondescript, we've benched him, but we're not saying
Mm,
we've benched him talk,
mm,
which is a bit weird. Having said that, I think every game this season that Flacco's played, the Colts have looked like a much better team
agreed.
than Richardson. Richardson he doesn't seem to get it yet.
I
It
think
feels like
Richardson's
moving
still
too
reliant on
fast.
his explosive plays, and when they don't
Yeah,
happen, it's then okay. What else do you bring? What are we going to do
yeah,
offensively here? We can't just
exactly.
wait for the odd occasional explosiveness when we're going to absolutely set the world alight.
Yep.
No, there has to
Um,
be consistency in the play, and you have to just move the chains. That's what you do in the NFL. It's not college. You
Mm,
can't throw it 60 yards every other drive. In a big chunk play, you have to be able to just move the chains up and down the field. So, I thought the Colts defense actually played quite well, considering how good that Vikings offense is. I thought the Colts defense they got a few turnovers. I think it was 2 or 3 interceptions in the end. They just couldn't find a way on offense to get the points on the board. But it was a decent game.
mm.
I think this was a game where the Vikings were exploring their playbook a little bit and trying some new stuff because even though it was a one-score game, it wasn't a one-score game. It never felt that close. It always felt
No,
like the Vikings were going to win the game. Um, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say they it was interesting, but Darnold was throwing a lot of interceptions. So are you saying about them playing with the playbook a little bit? That would feed into that as to why he didn't look as calm and calculated as he has done most of the rest of the season. If they are starting to now throw in some new stuff, then yeah, that would make sense. Um,
It
but
was
yeah, you know,
that's not my analysis, by the way. That's
yeah, no, that's a theory, but
well,
Sure.
it was Peyton Manning who said that their play, the way that they're
oh
playing
right,
their offensive scheme is very different to what they've had before. That's not him saying they're expanding the playbook. That's just me
Just
going,
his.
well, it must be that. So I'm not going to argue with him. In terms of coming out as a quarterback, though,
you
um,
don't know as much. You don't know more than Peyton Manning.
I
Come
know,
on, man.
shocking, right?
Doing this for how many years now?
The only thing I was going to say is in terms of taking yourself out if you're a starter, how many times in his career did Joe Montana take himself out? How many times did
Never.
Tom Brady take himself out? Or about John Elway,
Unless you're wheeled
Roethlisberger,
out on
any
a
of them?
cart, you
Yeah,
don't do it.
you don't
Yeah,
go out.
I'm not having it. Sorry. If I've got a quarterback who says, "Do you know what? I need a playoff." Fine, stand in there. We'll hand you the ball, and you can run it in an outside zone, and you just take the playoff. That's what you're going to do. You're not taking yourself off the
Don't
field.
take
I'm not
yourself
having it.
out.
Unless
No.
it's like a Lamar and you need a shit. At that point, I'll let you off. Go and have a dump and then come back. That's
Go relieve yourself.
is what it is. Is what it is. Unless you're Deshaun Watson, then don't go and relieve yourself because there's always going to be a victim somewhere.
Yeah, maybe not that sort
Um,
of. But
One final trade, by the way, at the deadline.
here we
So
go.
the trade deadline has now finished. It's now ended. There can be no more trades. Is now a good time to say DK Metcalf has not gone to the Bucks? I was
I
only
was going to
playing.
say,
You I was getting ready to put the tissues again, not for that sort of not happy
No, but
tissues.
now you can go and get a happy tissue.
Now I might go get happy tissues. Yeah, let's wrap this up then, shall we, chaps?
There we go. Let's bring some good
Right.
news to you. At least you're smiling.
Let's go. Monday Night Football.
Oh,
Finish
God.
this off. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24, Kansas City Chiefs 30.
I'm going to shut up because I haven't watched the game.
Another overtime game.
Tampa were really unlucky in this game,
This
I
was,
think.
yeah.
If we've said all season long, how long can the Chiefs go undefeated because they're not playing particularly well. Yeah, this game kind of proved that out. They're just about doing enough to get over the line, and they're doing that every single week.
It's just
Um,
part of their DNA, isn't it? They just know exactly how to
they know exactly
grind it
how to
out.
do it. I mean, the interesting thing I really thought with Tampa was the amount of passes they were using, and they've got to do this because let's be honest, their receiving core is absolutely decimated.
Mm.
That that they were literally using tight ends and running backs as receivers almost the entire game. They weren't even looking to pass it down the field. They were just looking to get their 10 yards and move it on.
But that's
And
what
it
they
was
do.
working.
They
Yeah, yeah.
live in.
But that was working really, really well against that Chiefs defense. So that stifling Chiefs defense that everyone struggled to score on this year,
Hmm.
just moving them left and right and up and down, just by a few yards, every single
Mm.
player, not leaving themselves in third and sevens, third and eights. Tampa were able to move the ball like nobody's business. I thought they were really unlucky in this.
When we
Uh,
played Tampa, their only goal in going down the field is to get to the yellow line. That's it. As long as they do that, they're
yeah,
happy.
Yeah,
Which I
and
don't think is a bad thing, by the way.
that's what
I
you need
think
to
they
do,
have
isn't it?
to, and the fact that they're used to doing that
Hey,
means
man, the
that
Patriots won
now
six
they're
Super
doing
Bowls
it.
doing that.
Now they're doing it without any receivers. That's the only issue they've got in that that you would expect the defenses to come up and kind of close that short yardage stuff off and force them over the top, but it just never happened. I thought Tampa were adjusting really well. I think this is probably the team I've seen come closest to beating the Chiefs this season, if I'm
You know who they
honest.
could do with DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf would be a
DK Metcalf
great
would have won in that game.
Yeah, they're wide receivers at the moment. Sterling Shepard, Trey Palmer,
yeah,
Raheem Jarrett, no idea.
yeah, exactly.
Ryan Miller, Sean
We're,
Tucker.
we're talking 4, 5, 6, 7 on
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
depth chart being your 1, 2, 3.
These are
So
guys. These are guys you cut in OTAs. These aren't
yeah,
starters. These
exactly,
aren't
Yeah.
starters.
exactly.
And the fact they gave the Chiefs, let's be honest, the Chiefs are a defense first team. The fact they put up so many points and pushed them into overtime without having
Oh, did it go to overtime? I
the
genuinely haven't watched this
Yeah,
game, so I
yeah.
don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
went
it
to
went to
overtime.
overtime.
Looking at the stats, by the way, Vita Vea, 7 tackles, 3 assists, 2 sacks. Bloody hell.
Yeah, yeah. Vita Vea was
I'm
on.
so glad he wasn't playing when the Broncos played them.
Yeah, no, I love Vita Vea. I think
He's great, isn't he?
he's one of the not just technically one of the better technically
Power.
one of the better guys, but the amount of power he has is just phenomenal. He just
Just a
throws off
monster.
a line left and right.
I'd love to
Uh,
see him go against who's the left tackle for Detroit. I can't remember what his name is, but
uh,
both Polynesian. Vita
And they
Vea.
feel
Yeah, Vita Vea versus Penacio. What a battle that would be. That would be
well, they
immense. I know
did,
one
didn't they?
plays in the inside. Yeah, but he plays in the
Yeah.
inside. They wouldn't go directly against each other. So,
No, they wouldn't.
but I would love to see that.
As a training drill, that'd be fun
Mm.
to watch.
Yeah.
Just talking about those flipping Chiefs for a minute. Do we actually think they can go undefeated this
Nah.
season?
2 years.
What's their? I don't know what their schedule is after this.
Okay, so I'll go through their schedule. I've got it
Go on
here.
then.
So they've just played Tampa and won that one. They've got Denver next week.
That's
Is
a
it
win.
where is it? Arrowhead or Mile High?
Oh, don't ask me. I'm just
I think
reading
we've got a
the
chance of doing them at Mile High.
Oh,
Okay, we've got to play them twice, so
Yeah.
you can pick and choose. So Denver, Buffalo, that's an
Buffalo might.
issue.
mm,
Carolina,
Where's
No.
Buffalo?
Buffalo is in Buffalo, I think.
Okay.
oh then yeah, okay.
That one is a marker for a potential loss.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a potential.
Carolina,
Then
forget it.
Then it's Carolina, the Raiders, the Chargers in Arrowhead.
If they run the ball effectively, Chargers could cause them trouble.
I think the
Mm.
Chargers that is a bit of a trap game for them. I
Mm.
think
Also,
just
there's
from
more
their
time
style
for the
of play.
Chargers to really solidify and get a bit of momentum behind them.
And then they finish off the last four. I think three of them could be interesting ones. So they finish off with the Browns, the Texans, the Steelers, and the Broncos.
Okay.
So
I
there's
think there's
probably a loss or two in there, I think.
yeah,
But
particularly if they've already got playoff secured, then they might
well,
be.
this is it. It's once you
We
get to week 16, 17, 18, you
Yeah.
could even have the Texans and the Steelers playing backups as well.
Mm.
So, it's gonna be an interesting one to keep an eye on, I think. I think there's two real kind of groups, isn't there? There's like the next couple of games, so Denver and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Then they've got that kind of easy schedule with the Chargers
Yeah.
in the middle of it. And then you've got that what I would call a pretty tough run in, to be honest.
Mm.
Apart from the Browns.
Texans, Steelers, and Broncos. Yeah, all right, last three: Texans, Steelers, and Broncos.
You know.
So
We
I don't
teased
know. I don't know
Jim.
if they're going to go undefeated, but I think it's interesting to keep an eye on it. Also, the other thing to pick up on from that Monday night game is Patrick Mahomes tweaked his ankle again.
He
Good.
did. He did do that.
We teased Jim about that unbeaten Steelers team being the worst unbeaten team, blah 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 blah. That
Yeah.
team was better than this Chiefs team.
Yes,
that
I would
Yeah.
agree with you.
Steelers team was
Yeah,
better
yeah.
than what their Chiefs are showing.
Yeah,
Bear in mind, I
Mhm.
didn't
I'd
watch this
agree.
game, but generally they are a lot better than that team. This is the worst unbeaten team I've ever seen.
Yes, I
Not
would
ever,
agree.
but in
Mhm.
recent memory.
I would agree.
Yeah.
There are your games.
There we have it. Got any power plays,
And
Punk?
you've still got
Oh.
DK Metcalf.
And we still, yeah,
The
that's
DK
that's all we need to be. Let's call it a
Got me
day there,
on
shall
that
we?
one. I can normally pick up when you're trying to throw something out there, but
No, that was good.
you
That was
got
good.
me
I was
on that.
trying my hardest not
Like,
to
what?
laugh.
Let's go.
I
I even
when you
started
said
looking at my phone
it,
going, I can't
thinking,
find anything about it.
I was thinking, surely we've not gone, yes, have him, and then gone, you know what? For a sick, that will do.
Well, I didn't want to say like a second or a third because that you'd have been like rubbish. So I was trying to think, where do I gauge it? And I think I said a fifth or a sixth, and that was just enough. So yeah,
Just
Jim,
sort of,
leave that in.
Fifth was
Don't edit
enough
it out. That
because
was really good.
Devontae was a fourth, so it was like, yeah, okay, that makes
That's not a
sense.
bad shout then.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're
Mm.
about right. Right, power plays. Honourable mentions first, as always. So Johan Dotson's third quarter behind the defender, flipped the ball up to himself, catch. That was a fantastic play, actually. I'm not quite sure why it didn't make the power plays, but I'm sure I'll remind myself when I get to them. 103-yard pick six for the Rams, Cameron Kinchens
Yes.
versus
that was
Vince
needed.
Seahawks. Demarcus Robinson's one-handed walk-off touchdown for the Rams. I thought
I
that
don't think it was that good.
Again, that wasn't
I-
needed.
I did. I thought it was good. Jack
It's
Higgins
only
is
because
now-
it's one-handed though. You take away
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
hand, and I don't think
absolutely.
it was the most difficult one-handed catch you'll ever see either.
No, but in the context of the game, it was one of those where if you don't catch it, you're pretty much just going to end up in a tie because nothing's happening.
Are these
Stafford
honourable
took a
mentions?
chance. These are honourable
Yeah.
mentions.
Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that. Fine. I
These
thought this
are-
was
these are not-
okay. Cool. I agree.
Take
with
it
that.
back. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Next honourable mention is Jack Jones's now patented pick six at the line of scrimmage. He seems to be doing it 2 or 3 times a season.
If it meant
Uh,
something, it'd be a power play, but as it didn't, it's same as Bo
yeah,
Nix's
he-
Billy
well,
special.
no, Bo Nix's wouldn't have got in there because we've seen it all before with the Philly special, haven't we? So,
Not
you
from a
know,
Broncos
no way,
quarterback.
Not
We
from-
have.
not from
no
Bo
way.
Nix.
It's good to have, but it didn't. If that had been the winning play, that's 100% in there. But it was not.
Well,
So yeah.
there's no such thing as 100% in there unless I decide it's in there. So, Daniel Jones's very violent 2-yard touchdown run, wiping out Dante Fowler in the
At no
process.
point can you refer to that as violent.
It was a violent run for Daniel Jones, who, let's be honest, is one of the wettest quarterbacks going.
He's not the qualifier.
Okay, so that's the honourable mentions. Right, on to week 9 power plays. So, down 14-3 late in the second quarter, you need a spark from your offense. On second and goal from the 3, with 4 minutes 12 left on the clock, the quarterback takes the snap, drops 7 yards, and pumps fakes to the left corner of the end zone. Realizing none of his receivers are open, he tries to buy time before taking off as the pocket collapses. As the defenders start to close in, he approaches the 5-yard line. He flips the ball out to a wide open receiver in the middle of the end zone, who gets absolutely drilled in the back before he can secure the ball. The power of the hit, however, doesn't have the desired effect, and the ball pops back up into the air. Laid flat on his back, Rico Dowdle searches for the ball, finds it, reaches out, and manages to snag it, bringing the Cowboys back into the game against the Falcons. A great example of keeping your wits about you, even after taking a massive hit, as you never know where the ball may end up. This is the one you alluded to earlier, Dave. I'm sure Jim will have put some nice fancy graphics on this to show the play.
Yeah. And as I say, if he was any good, he'd have caught it first time round.
If he was
I'm
any good, he
joking.
would have held on to it the
And it
first
would
time.
be in it.
He wouldn't be in the power plays if he just caught that. So there we go.
Is this the equivalent
Right.
of a football goalkeeper's Hollywood dive? Is this a Hollywood catch? Watch this, Mark.
No,
Sort of juggles
no,
it
no,
up.
no. I'll find you some examples of them, but they are definitely out there. They are definitely out there.
The king of the Hollywood catch, by the way, was Scotty Miller at the Bucks, because he had every catch. Honestly, go and watch. Every catch, he'd jump 15 feet in the air and come down with it rather than trying to catch it on the run. Every single
Or
one.
he'd just catch the ball and then dive.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2. Down 7. 4 seconds remaining. It's Hail Mary time, right? Well, that's a bit tricky when it's third and goal from the 5. So what do? Well, if you're Drake May, you decide to turn into Kyler Murray and just keep the play alive, hoping someone gets open. Taking the snap, he spends the remaining game time in the pocket, waiting for someone to pop open. And he waits, and he waits. They don't. So when that doesn't happen, he starts drifting left and right, all the while backing up. As the rush starts to get to him, he steps up and evades a tackle at the 13, rolling to his left. But still no one's open. As 2 tacklers finally converge on him and start dragging him to the ground, he realizes he has nowhere left to run and flings the ball towards the end zone, where somehow Ramondre Stevenson has managed to work back past his defender to just about be able to make the grab and put the Patriots with an extra point of forcing overtime. This is all Drake May's show, though, showing athletic ability and his poise to not panic, stay alive for 13 seconds, and keep his eyes downfield for when someone popped open. And at the end of it all, Robert Kraft looked like he just left his favourite massage parlour.
Do you know, I agree.
Mainly because he's a rookie. He did all those things you would expect a seasoned veteran to do.
I think if you're a 15-year vet, this still goes in there. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
If I'm the pass game coordinator or the QB coach or whatever it would be, I pull him to one side and say, okay, you know that throw that you threw that was the game winner? Never do that again. If you're being pulled to the ground, don't Carson Wentz it. If you're falling backwards, do not throw the ball. Well done for doing it once, but never, ever do it again, because no good can
One
come
and
of
done.
that. Yes, never do it again.
Right, onwards and upwards. When you've done a poor job in the fourth quarter and let your opponents back into the game, it certainly helps to have a player that can dig you out of a hole. With 7:51 left in a game that should have already been wrapped up, the Eagles have managed from the Jags' 26-yard line. Knowing that momentum is all with Jacksonville, Hurts takes the snap and takes 7-step drop. Immediately spotting one-on-one coverage to the outside, he steps up and uncorks the ball towards the right back corner of the end zone. The ball is flying at a fair old clip, and at the last second, Devontae Smith, who's managed to find half a yard of separation right as the ball arrives, and with the grip of a northerner on his wallet when it's his round in the pub, manages to one-hand the catch, get his knee down, and survive the ground all in the same motion as he hurtles out of bounds to give the Eagles the game-breaking score. He had one last week that was similar, that almost got into the power plays. So for his consistency and excellence in execution of one-handed grabs, he's getting in this week. That is a great catch. I think the fact that the ball was thrown super hard as well and looked like it was probably going to drop out of bounds, for him to actually get there, find the gap on the defender, and then just squeeze the ball as he hit the ground, I thought it was phenomenal.
Hell of a grab.
Yeah, right. God, Eagles fans are getting a treat this week. They really are. Right, already this season, we've had some pretty awesome power plays. From levitating lions to 100-yard returns to Jim finally getting a Steeler play in there. But I'm not sure we've ever had a Madden play until now. On 3rd and 6 from the Jags 44, Jalen Hurts takes the snap. His reads downfield are all covered, so he throws a swing pass out to Saquon Barkley. Securing the ball, Barkley makes the first man miss with a right stick juke at the line of scrimmage. As he approaches the first down marker, he hits circle. Sorry, Xbox players, but PlayStation. In the opposite and spins in the opposite direction, which takes him past the first down marker, but has left him facing the wrong way. Doesn't matter. He's just hit all the buttons on his controller, and as 6 defenders close in, he reverse leapfrogs the tackler before finally being brought down after what might be the most interesting 14-yard run ever not completed on a PlayStation. I thought it was phenomenal. I think Saquon Barkley is loving life at the Eagles. I think this play shows it. I did actually see a clip over the weekend where he tried this last season and got caught kind of halfway through the leap. So it's obviously something he's practiced at some point or has got a feeling for that he could actually pull off. Because when like I said, last season when he tried it, he got tackled as he was doing the leap. So his right leg got taken out and he got dumped on the ground. Whereas this time it was just all perfect. I mean, it literally is like watching someone play Madden. It's insane. The amount of ability that boy has to juke, spin, and backward leapfrog all in the same 14-yard play. It's phenomenal running back.
The button bash you mentioned, that's Street Fighter 2 Turbo mode. Finn, you might be too young for that one, but it's press every button and hope you do a Hadouken.
Press every button.
Hope you do something right.
Yeah. Second thing, there was a video of someone trying to do the same move just in the park with his friends, and it was doing the rounds on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, search for it. And the dude tore his ACL. He sort of ran, turned, clutched his knee, and went as he fell to the ground. The other thing as well, on college game day mornings, they do this competition where if a fan kicks a field goal from like 40, 50 yards, whatever it is, you get $100,000. And a guy was practicing to do that and tore his ACL doing that as well. So he literally runs forward, his leg collapses and tears his ACL going for it. It
Nice.
was
and he doesn't get his $100,000.
Absolutely. He didn't make contact with the ball.
Yeah,
it honestly it's like watching Mr. Burns. It was insane. He just ran towards it. His knee buckles. Google it. It was. I feel so bad for him because it's on national TV as well. Is that the end of the power plays, or we got any more?
No, that's your power plays for this week.
I mean, as far as power plays go, they're pretty good ones in fairness.
Pretty decent ones, eh? There we have it then, chaps.
That's it.
That wraps up week 9.
It's been emotional.
It's been emotional.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing about DK Metcalf.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm gonna go cry about that. But pleasure as always, chaps.
No.
Just
so we're back
team.
in very soon. We've got the prediction pod for week 10.
Week 10, yeah.
Good God.
Week 10 picks will be happening. So
Yep,
stay
so see
tuned
if
for
I
that.
can extend my lead. Let's say we don't have no fantasy points now with Jim making numbers up, but there we go.
I don't think Jim's won a game in our fantasy league this season yet, has he?
I won my first one last week.
Not.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. My team's really good. They've just been playing really There we go.
Well, there we
Right.
have it then. We've been the Dream Team. I've been Finn. That's been Punk Raider. That's been Denver Dave. Thanks for listening.